Hi, everybody. Welcome to BYOB, the Bring Your Own Book podcast. I'm Nikki.
And I'm Kelly.
And today we are talking about Marcus Kliewer's horror book, We Used to Live Here. We were both so excited about this book. I feel like since it came out, we've been talking about it. And I am so excited to hear your thoughts. But before we say thoughts, Kelly is going to say the synopsis.
Okay. As a young queer couple who flip houses, Charlie and Eve can't believe the killer deal they've just gotten on an old house in a picturesque neighborhood. As they're working in the house one day, there's a knock on the door. A man stands there with his family, claiming to have lived there years before and asking if it would be all right if he showed his kids around. People pleaser to a fault, Eve lets them in. As soon as the strangers enter their home, uncanny and inexplicable things start happening, including the family's youngest child going missing and a ghostly presence materializing in the basement. Even more weird, the family can't seem to take the hint that their visit should be over. And when Charlie suddenly vanishes, Eve slowly loses her grip on reality. Something is terribly wrong with the house and with the visiting family. Or is Eve just imagining things? Girl, you're not. You are not imagining things.
But maybe she is. The ending is pretty, honestly, anger-inducing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But maybe we should start at the beginning
A very
with
good
a
place to start.
question that I'm going to ask you. What did you rate this?
So I gave it a 5 out of 5.
Okay.
And I was so excited to read this book. I mean, all I knew was that people show up and they used to live there and then they don't want to leave. And I was like, nope. As soon as I heard that, I was like, no, 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 no. I knew this was going to
Yeah.
be creepy. I was ready to read it. And I had a great time. I know you warned me about the ending,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if I would have felt any differently had I not had your warning, but I get why you warned me because
Right.
we will get into the ending, but like I had a great time and I found this book, it was kind of like towing the line between horror and thriller, and I liked that because
Mm-hmm.
it was really fast paced. I didn't know who to trust at all. And it started like page one. I was creeped out the first page. Family was already there. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I thought we were going to meet people before. I thought we were going to, I don't know, but it just started right away. And I was like, ah. It took me 3 days to read it, but I spent most of my time reading it in one day when I was sick. And I was just fully in it to win it in bed. Like, just yeah, I was disgusted, or not disgusted. I was disgusted at some parts, but I was disgusting, curled up in bed, like, can barely breathe, and it wasn't just from my COVID; it was from the terror. So the anxiousness. What did
I'm
you
so
give it, Nikki?
glad. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5, and the 0.5 that is taken off is purely because of the ending. The last two chapters, 2 chapters-ish, I really didn't like. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
feel like they added anything to have that kind of ending. I don't know if it's because I feel like I want something to be like wrapped up, um, like with a definite answer. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, I didn't like that it turned around on her and that the family or Thomas was still there. I wanted it to be like they defeat the thing
Yeah, I did too.
because it's just nice. I like that in a horror too. I don't think that every horror has to be like a sad ending. Um but I mean, haunted house stuff is my favorite genre of horror. A creepy house, a scary, scary basement.
Oh.
Like
Oh God.
aspects of the house keep moving around, like the windows change and different things like that. I thought it was great. I really did. I'm excited to get into details, but that's basically my overarching opinion.
Well, and I don't know if you looked this up or read anything about it, but I guess so. The author, he's an animator traditionally, I
Yeah.
guess. He's also Canadian, so that's
Woo
cool.
woo.
Yeah, but he submitted this as a short story for some contest on Reddit, and
Oh,
he won. And from that, I should look up the name of the contest. I will look it up in a sec. But from winning, they were like, publishers came and they signed him, and they're like, we want this as a book, a novel,
mm-hmm.
and which I'm kind of curious about because, like, I really wonder how many things changed from his original short story to this like full length novel.
Yeah.
But also from the short story, producers came by, I guess, contacted him and wanted the movie rights for it. So like
Oh,
just all this stuff from a Reddit contest. That's just crazy to me.
yeah. I
I'm gonna have to look
wonder,
this up.
I wonder like if it will ultimately get made into a movie, like just because they purchase rights doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna happen. But I'm torn on whether I actually want it to happen or not. There are a lot of really amazing, thrilling moments in this book that could be
Mm-hmm.
so destroyed by a movie if they don't do it perfectly. And I don't really think that it's worth potentially ruining. I know that it's different if you're the author and it's a lot of money and that's a really big deal, but as a reader, not worth it to me for this.
Yeah. Yeah, like I was trying to not think about the movie adaptation possibilities while I read it because I also was like, how are they going to do some of this stuff? Like,
Yeah.
especially when a lot of it is in her head, or is it, right? Like, we don't
Yeah.
know. But, and not like there haven't already been movies like that. But yeah, I was wondering, like, how are they going to make this happen without cheapening it? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think it is going to be a movie. They said on Goodreads, it says soon to be a Netflix original movie starring our favorite Blake Lively.
No.
Is she playing Paige? I'm kidding. She's not. Paige is like Thomas's crazy
Wife.
wife, who's like super religious and also just very unsettling to me anyway. But
Well, now I know
um
for sure I'm not going to like it. I can tell you almost right off the bat that I'm not going to effing like it. That makes me so mad. She doesn't even act.
like she's
What are
gonna
they
be
going to
like,
do? Be like,
but
oh, you don't know this, but in editing, we actually, every time I kissed Charlie, I was actually kissing my husband Ryan. And then we had to CGI the actress's face onto her because Ryan's in everything that I do.
oh
Is that what they're
god,
going to
or
do?
even worse, he's
Like,
gonna be Thomas. I don't know if they have
uh,
anyone cast like announced yet. I don't know, but like, or it's gonna be like, she's in the house like, oh, well, with her mouth open. I just don't understand, right? Like her cool
yeah,
persona, and then it's gonna be like the door is slightly ajar, and then it zooms down on her shoes, which don't make any sense for this context. It's gonna be like a sparkly platform heel, this gay house
yeah,
flipper living out in the middle of nowhere. Why is she all done up? We don't know.
yeah.
Um, yeah, she's gonna go to bed with her stockings still on. The true horror of it all.
I pictured Eve as like this really quirky, kind of like indie look, kind of like Emily Skeggs or somebody like that, that's more low key and not ultra mainstream famous.
Super
Also,
tall glamazon.
that's also just like how I prefer my actors to be in thriller and horror movies.
Yeah.
How are you going to make me believe Blake doesn't act lively is scared in this basement and her name is Eve. You can't. You can't
Right?
do it.
No. No. I don't know. That's an interesting cast. And she's too old. I hate that I'm saying that, but like
Right?
I didn't picture
She
her in her
is.
40s or
Yeah.
late 30s, whatever she is. I don't
Yeah,
know.
she's like 36 or
40s.
37 or something. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know what that look means. Don't look too far into it. I'm just so confused. Okay. For some
Well, I think
reason,
everybody knows what this look means. I'm mad about this.
for whatever reason, like I said, I tried not to picture this as a movie, but I did picture Thomas as Jason Bateman.
I get
You know what
that.
I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think because he could do it convincingly, I feel like, because he's kind of like, guy next door, like, personable, like not really
Yep.
threatening, but could be a little iffy,
Menacing.
sketchy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially like stone cold faced, like, I don't know.
Or like Zachary Quinto. He
Oh, he's
does the
scary.
he does like charming psycho killer really good.
I know, because I used to watch Heroes and he was so scary in that
Yeah.
before the show went downhill. But, anyways.
That's a
So,
different episode.
yeah. Save the cheerleader, save the world, right? But, I don't know if you watched that show. That's from the show. But,
I
it's
didn't. I remember
like
the
a huge.
commercials though.
Okay. It was pretty good until it wasn't. But,
I guess we should
so,
talk about this
okay.
book.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, I did look it up. The contest was on the subreddit No Sleep, and it's a forum purportedly devoted to true horror stories. Everything is true here, even if it's not. And there was a
Oh, I
readership
like
at the
that.
time. Yeah, there was a readership at the time of about 14 million people. So that's pretty
Jeez.
cool. And he
Yeah.
won. It was in a 4-part series, similar in structure to the novel.
Nice.
Okay.
That's dope.
Oh, yeah. It says, oh, there's a second book? Sorry. Okay, what? Okay, so he sold the rights for the film and he got a publication deal for 3 books
Right.
before even one book had been fully written. And the second book is based off of an unpublished story called The Caretaker, and he's already sold the rights to Universal with Sydney Sweeney attached to it to star. Holy crap, this
Interesting.
guy hasn't even started, and he's like, good for him. Shit.
Yeah. I'll definitely read more from him.
Oh, yeah.
And I
I loved
find
it.
with thrillers and horrors, the journey for me is more important than the destination. Like, even though I didn't like the end of the book, I can allow myself to just kind of forget that that happened and just enjoy the scares I had along the way.
Yeah, because it's such a small part of it, right? So
Yeah,
it's like 2 chapters out of all of the rest that I was like, oh my
I
god. Like,
know.
I was messaging you being like, I don't trust the 6-year-old. Or whatever she
Yeah.
is, the little kid, Jenny. I was like, I hate this.
So, what was your favorite scare in the book or your favorite tense moment?
Oh god. I think one of the best parts for me was when Eve was hiding from the lady with the hammer and she was like hiding in the attic and like running around. Was it the attic or the basement?
The basement.
The basement. She was like going through like this labyrinth basically in the basement trying to get away from her. And then she was hiding in the wardrobe and like just looking through the crack being like, "Oh my god, she's going to come here,"
Yeah,
And
with all
then
the
she like
paintings
came in.
around her.
And she came in, and then Thomas came in, and just because I was just like, I was holding my breath. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding, except I knew I was holding it because I was so scared.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
about you?
So I loved the basement stuff. I thought it was really interesting that the basement kind of shifted and changed, and you see the correlation between what Eve is seeing, and what the boys saw in the kind of the police interview,
Mm.
where um, there was 4 boys outside the house and 2 went in, and they couldn't find the other friend, and he was like, there was this hospital hallway, and we my friend went down there and something happened to him and all of this stuff. But my least favorite, I guess, because I was actually really terrified, um, was Eve going to the attic for the tire chains.
Oh yeah.
And she's like describing like going through that tiny hallway into the room, and it has all of like boxes of Charlie's stuff, and she can hear the dumbwaiter moving, and
Mm.
then she looks out and there's no one there, and there's like this drip that's going constantly, and she comes back out and the flashlight's not working, and she's like hitting the flashlight on her hand to try to keep it, like, you know, when you like shake the batteries to try to get it to connect,
Mm-hmm.
and just the flashlight falling to the ground and rolling, and you seeing the lady's feet, and then she runs at her,
I
is the
know.
stuff of my nightmares.
And
I oh
sorry, she didn't even like run right away, which made it even more creepy because she like shuffled,
yeah,
shuffled, and then she fucking booked it. I'm like, ah.
yeah, yeah.
I forgot
And
about that.
I remember reading that. It was really late at night. I think I stayed up until 2 or 3 in the morning that night reading,
Yeah. Oh God.
and I had to wake my boyfriend up to go to the bathroom with me because I was terrified to go out there on my own. The way that my house is we're in a walkout basement. And so there's our bedroom and this hallway with an opening to the whole living room, and then our bathroom. And right across from the bathroom is an exterior door. Like it goes right out into the backyard, which usually doesn't bother me that much. But I was running, and I made him walk behind me because I was worried that if he walked in front of me, something would grab me. And
Gatsby.
he is a
Seriously
little
though.
asshole, so it probably would happen that he would do that, or like hit my leg or something. Um yeah, but
Oh
that
my
scene
God.
really, really freaked me out. And the next day I really appreciated it. Just in the moment, I was like
Yeah.
in bed.
Oh my God, it's true. Like, this was scary. It was the right amount of scary for me because, like, I said to Scott, I was like, maybe I will watch this movie, especially now that I know all the scares.
Right.
Maybe I'll be more prepared. But, like, it was because you were, or at least I was on edge, like, the whole time. You didn't really have to do that much more to get me really creeped out because it was already
Yeah.
like shit is unsettling. I don't know what's going on. I don't know who to trust. I don't understand why these people are still here. And then they leave and I was like, "Oh, thank God." But then we know they come back and
Yeah.
but I guess to backpedal a bit. This book kind of puts into perspective buying a house in the middle of nowhere, doesn't it? Which I already knew I didn't want to do,
Well,
but
definitely
holy.
check out your neighbors. You have abandoned
Oh.
house cabin
Mm-hmm.
over on one side through the woods.
Yep.
Terrifying. And then
Mm-hmm.
you have Stepford wife Heather on the other side with her beautiful garden and her
Yeah.
creepy somebody in the house that's like opening the door and listening that we never hear
Yeah.
about again. ever.
Seriously. I know. I was
That
kind of
irritated
like,
me.
well, that's what I'm like, what is real in this book? You know, how far does this house reach and its
Right.
inhabitants? Because she knew all about Thomas. She
Mm-hmm.
didn't know a lot about his sister, we'll say.
Yep.
Um, she like she thought she was someone else, like a different name, and something else had happened to her, and all this stuff. So like we have two different realities going on in the area around this house, but there's also like a motel or an inn nearby that's also kind of shady. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
Yep.
Maybe it's on a ley line and everyone's like living in two different. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because, okay, so let's try to explain this because I feel like we could be confusing people if they haven't read it yet. We're going to spoil it for you, but be warned.
Boom.
Did you say boo?
Yeah. I said boom.
Oh, oh. But like, okay, so the book starts off with Charlie and Eve, and they just bought this house, and they're trying to fix it up because they flip houses. And Charlie is like out at work or running an errand or something, and Eve's all alone, and this family shows up. And she's like, I don't want to let them in. But eventually she feels bad about saying no because she's a people pleaser, which was also scary because, wow, can I not relate? As I'm sure you can also relate to some of it.
I would have been that person. I would have been like, I really don't want them in here. And I would have been like, yeah, sure. I would have let them in. I can almost guarantee you I would have let them in.
Oh, I wouldn't have even opened the door because Scott and I have gone into discussions before where he's like, "Oh my God, Kelly, just open the door." And I'm like, I don't want to open the door. I don't know this person. Why are they here? I don't need to open the door. If it's so important, they can leave a letter in the mailbox or they can come back and try again. I don't need to open the door. You know what I mean? So he actually had a friend in school and university who opened the door during a house party. So you think people are here, it's fine. And he got beaten and mugged.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Awful.
right? So I'm just like, if I'm not expecting you, don't expect me to open the door.
Right.
So, but if I was out and about, I'd be like, oh, like I don't know what to do, but come to my door, I'm not opening it. Unless I know who you are and I'm expecting you. But yeah, so she lets them come in and they're, let me just look around for 15 minutes, turns into not 15 minutes. We don't know how long. And he like starts
Well, they end
talking
up having
about,
dinner there because Jenny goes to the basement and won't come out.
oh my God. What do you
And that
think?
turns into
Do you think
spending
she
the
was really
night.
in the basement? Yeah. Do you think she was really in the basement?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah?
I do. Yeah.
Hmm.
Just like the way that the interaction happened down there and her um like Thomas talking to her like through the gap. Like he was like leaning down being like Jenny and she's like sorry. And
Mm-hmm.
Eve was there for part of that. So I don't think that she wasn't in the basement. Do I think that her entity like stayed in the basement the whole time? I don't know. But I definitely
Mm-hmm.
think that the basement is kind of like the root of all evil. Because
Yeah.
usually, if a house gets kind of redone or whatever, it stays on the same foundation. So,
True. Yeah.
so unless you demolished the whole thing, and even then, who knows? Like that shit could just be in the ground. It's in the water.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I think she was in the basement.
Okay. I don't know. I have a theory, but
Yeah,
I'll save it for later. Because we have to
okay.
make it make sense first for everyone. So they
Well,
stay the night
hopefully they've
because,
read it and it makes sense because this is
right.
a very complicated episode to listen to if you haven't read it.
Or if you plan on reading it and don't want to be spoiled, because we're going to say it
Yeah.
all, because we have to.
Yep. Maybe not in order,
Needs
but we'll say
must.
it.
No. So they stay the night because there's a snowstorm, of course. and there's a bridge that you can't get over for whatever reason.
Yep.
Hate that. I was for sure thinking that Charlie was going to be dead in the woods or something. Like I was like, she's not coming home
That's what I thought
at the
too.
beginning,
That's what I
right?
thought. I was like, okay, well, there you go. Charlie's gone. Whole character you don't even have to write in.
Cast. Yeah. Bye. Yeah. So,
Yep.
but she does show up and she's like all for it. She's like, oh, whatever. Like, they're fine. It's just a family, which I'm like, what the fuck? Okay. Because I would have been like, who are these people here?
That would have
Why
been
are they still
Scott.
here?
He would
What?
have been like, oh, it's fine, Kelly.
No, I feel like he would pull me aside and be like, what the fuck? Like, how do we get rid of these people? I'd be like, I don't know. Oh my god. No. I won't let him. So, but then, like, I also wonder, so the next day, that's when Eve goes down the hill, which I'm imagining she's like on top of a mountain. I'm imagining she walked for like an hour or two to get to Heather's house. I have no idea how far she walked.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right? Like, because she's like talking about trekking several miles. So, like, I don't know how far away she is from this next location. She brings her dog, Shiloh, which I was so worried about that dog. I'm glad the dog seems to be okay. I don't know. I don't know what to
I think
trust.
I think the dog died.
What? When? No. What?
Yeah, you remember Shiloh goes down to the basement and then Shiloh comes back from the basement. I think Shiloh died. I mean, if you want to believe Shiloh lived, that you do that for your mental health. Shiloh's fine. Shiloh's fine. Dog came back. Cute dog. Proceed.
Well, at this point, Shiloh was definitely alive. Okay. So she and Shiloh go down to the next door neighbor, which is like down quite a bit, and they chat with Heather. There's that mysterious person maybe in the house making all these noises and the phone ringing for her at Heather's house with Charlie on the
Yep.
other end. That was so creepy. I, for one, couldn't understand that she just left the family at her house, just like left them. Don't trust these people in your home. Um, but what I was going to ask you is, what do you think happened during that time when she was at Heather's house and the family was just there?
I This is silly. I was gonna be like, I think they all turned into really like large, like arachnid like beings and just like scuttled around the house. And then she came back and they were like, hi, surprised to see you here.
Oh my god!
I think
Well, I
that they
didn't know you
just
were
heard,
back so soon.
oh, let me adjust my wig.
I
I
hate
think that they like, that's maybe not spiders, but I think that they
that.
just absorbed into the house and they were just doing weird, creepy ass shit.
Mm,
And then
yeah.
maybe they were awakening things. I mean, he does say when he first comes in, the real like 15 minutes of them supposedly being there, he's like, huh, that's different. There used to be a stained glass window in this room, which later you find out is in the upstairs room and then it moves. Um,
Mm-hmm. The
so
antler chandelier.
yeah, I'm wondering if they're waking things up or if they're burrowing themselves deeper into the home now that they're back,
Mm.
or he's back, because it's kind of ambiguous. Um, the way that I looked at it towards the end was that Paige and the kids were just extensions of Thomas. They weren't real. That
Okay.
was my kind of thought, is that he created this illusion to get in with Eve. And the dynamic between him and his wife, where His wife is more of all of the aspects that Eve doesn't like with like religion and things that make her uncomfortable because of her own childhood and like familial trauma. And then
Mm-hmm.
Thomas becomes this person that she can relate to in the way where he is kind of always side-eyeing Paige and being like, ugh, the religion thing and no phones, that's so silly. And so Eve
Mm-hmm.
can relate to him in this way where they're both looking down on this woman so that he can get into her mind even more. That's my idea,
Mm.
is that they're
Okay.
all not real.
Okay. So
Or they're
my
him.
theory, yeah, my theory is because throughout the book, which I also really loved, they had like little snippets of articles or like case
I loved that,
files and
yeah.
right like the Reddit kind of posts, of like conspiracy theories and stuff like that. Which makes sense that this was from a Reddit contest
Yeah,
account. I think that's clever. Um, but in one of or a few of the different clippings, they talked about there was a group of 5 men around the house at one point and they were never found.
yeah,
I feel like the 5 men are this family and it's the five, like they're 5 ancients because they talked about Thomas was an ancient or like there's ancient forces being around here and like there's that what did they call the not the outside house. There's like that cabin that was
yeah,
like a portal or some kind of thing, which was also like very trippy. And I was like, whoa, wait a sec. Who is that old man? I
right.
pictured the man and she's the man being like, I gotta turn on the sprinklers.
I thought
I
the
gotta turn the
man,
sprinklers on.
I thought that the man could possibly have been the boy that they interviewed at the police station.
Mm,
He goes back
yeah.
because he's still looking for his friends and for the reality that he is from.
Yeah.
Because there's all this
Yeah.
stuff on the walls, right? Like all these postings and articles and maps and drawings and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, after when I'm like, I was kind of capping the book in my head of everything that I just read because it was wild. I was like, I wonder if that
Mm-hmm.
is this guy that was in
Yeah.
the
It
basement.
could be. Yeah. Like I feel like it's definitely someone we met peripherally. It's got to be because
Yeah,
why are they showing us all this stuff? I wondered, I'm trying to remember. It was like if you go to the house and the middle-aged woman is there, don't talk to her or like don't let her see you or like something. I was like, who's the woman? And I was going down rabbit holes of like, is that Eve? Is it Heather? Is it like I was trying to figure out who
right.
these people were. I don't know who she is. I don't know if we'll ever know. But my theory because of all that extra stuff in the book, I feel like because there were 5 men and there's the family of 5, they just come as whoever they need to be for it like to do what they want to do, I guess.
Yeah,
So when Eve kills Paige, I wonder, is Paige actually dead? Because I don't know. It's like, how do you kill an ancient? I have no freaking clue. Like,
yeah. Or do they just go into like a resting period and
yeah.
it just takes them time to reawaken?
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
I
In
don't know.
stasis, yeah. I
Yeah,
have no clue. No clue. Um, but I kind of liked the stuff with the cabin in the woods because it added another layer of like, what is going on? Where did this
yeah.
house come from? Like,
Oh
because I don't
yeah,
always like the trippy kind of horror stuff because sometimes I'm like, okay, this is too much. We're losing the point here. But I
right.
thought it worked pretty well.
I do too. The especially with how she gets to the cabin, she's following somebody. She's like
Mm-hmm.
running after this person that she thinks she sees.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember specifically if she thought it was Thomas. Like, I think that he was like kneeling out in the snow. She sees him out the window,
Yeah.
or she's walking back from Heather's or something. and
Yeah.
she sees him kneeling out in the snow, and then he gets up and he starts to go, and she's following, and he's getting faster and faster, and he's up in the trees and
Mm-hmm.
leads her to this clearing with the
Mm-hmm.
cabin. And that in itself was enough for me to be like, nope, I
Right?
wouldn't follow. I'd be like, please go in there, never come back.
No.
Like, just
Right? Oh my
um
God,
but
no.
when she goes into the cabin, my heart was beating so quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and the man coming to the door, and it didn't feel like one of those books where, you know how sometimes you can feel the essence of a book and it's like she's going to get raped, or
Mm.
it feels like something where the author wants to be overly provocative in with sexual situations.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
didn't feel like that at all. I didn't, that wasn't a fear, but
No.
I was just feeling like this man is going to run at her, or
Hmm.
what if something happens to the dog, or what if he holds her there forever and then she's trapped
Mm-hmm.
in another house, or, there's just so many
Yeah.
possibilities. And her scooting past him, when he says, you have to leave here, you have to get out of here. And she's like, okay. And she's running past him out the door. And I was just thinking, he's going to grab you. He's going to grab you.
Oh no,
Oh,
really?
yes.
I was hoping that they would work together, but he was like, "You need to leave," and I'm
I
like,
thought you were going to say, I was hoping he was going to grab her. I was
"No,
like, no.
no, no!" I was like, "Oh, he can give her some like not tools or resources, but like some info, like
Yeah,
they can work together, maybe bring it down." I don't know because the other thing I was thinking about while reading this is like the way the book plays with time and space, if you will, right? Because it's like parallel universes of sorts.
right.
Every time she left the house and went on these kind of like weird side quests, I was like, is this actually real time? Or is she like, has she been gone for days? Has it been like, I don't know, right? Especially in the cabin, because
Right.
weird shit's going on. And yeah, like, I don't even know. I don't
I think
know.
I think it is real time, just because Charlie is still Charlie until
She's
um
not.
she picks Eve up in the truck and Charlie goes into
Hmm.
the house to get her stuff. Um
Oh, yeah.
so you'd think when Eve comes back, Charlie'd be like, where you been? It's been
Right.
5 days or whatever. So I think that it
Yeah.
is real time. Um, but I think my question with it is, when she's leaving to go do those other things, is she actually leaving the house?
Yeah. I
Or
wondered
does
that
she
too at
just think she's
times.
leaving the house?
Yeah. I don't know. Because, I mean, Charlie comes and goes, it seems like with no problem. I did wonder at first if she was in on it at the beginning. Did you think about that?
Yeah.
She
Well,
was sketch.
when Eve calls her from Heather's house and Charlie's like, "What do you want?" basically, and ignoring her and being so shitty, and I'm thinking, I think Charlie is cheating on Eve. And I think that's a whole other thing. But
Hmm.
also, when that phone call happens, is she talking to Charlie at all? Or is that Thomas pretending to be Charlie and trying to
Hmm.
make Eve worry to create a separation between them? Because it's very
Hmm.
clear that Thomas doesn't really seem to give a crap about Charlie at all.
Hmm.
He's very focused on sinking into Eve because she's the weak one, which she is. Charlie's very
Hmm.
self-assured and kind of has this like blasé-faire attitude about things. And
Hmm.
Eve is very worried, very self-conscious. and anxiety to the max.
Yeah. But I wonder though, let's just have a, I don't want to say a debate because no, a discussion, because do we think Eve is the weaker one? Because although she is a worrywart and she is constantly like battling with her inner monkey toy, right? Of
Yeah,
like, which was so
creepy Phantom of the Opera
yes,
situation.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking the whole time.
Right, yeah. So she's like always thinking like, don't open that door because this is gonna happen, or like she hates you, or blah blah blah, right? There's always these like insecurities going on. But with Charlie, and to be fair, we don't get her inner dialogue, but like she doesn't worry about anything and she just kind of falls for everything. She takes everything at face value with the family, right? And she's like, oh, it's fine. Like, what are they gonna do? Like, so I don't know. I don't know. Like, at least Eve is like, something is off and I don't know what it is, but I'm
Right.
on edge. She's not, if we're going to say weak, strong, whatever, if she's not strong enough to say no to them and
Yeah.
not even let them in, which is really bad.
Yeah.
But she's never like, oh, it'll be fine. Like, Charlie's just like dismissive, like, it's fine. Even, oh, like one of the saddest parts for me in the book is when they're about to get out. And
Yeah.
Charlie's like, well, I gotta go pack some things. And Eve's like, no, you don't. Like, let's just go. But she's like, no,
Yeah.
no, I gotta go in. Like, oh. And
Yeah.
her, Eve, watching them through the window in the house, like tracking them.
Yeah.
That was stressful.
Yeah. That was stressful. Um,
Oh.
I think in terms of weak and strong, this situation, this book would not have happened if Charlie had been the one home
Oh, probably, yeah. Yeah.
because of the way that Thomas set his family up. I think
Mm.
that if someone would have come there in the night, Charlie would have either not opened the door or been like, sorry, buddy, you gotta go. Storms are coming. Move it along.
Yeah, you should get
So
going.
yeah, I think that it was set up perfectly to prey on everything that makes that prey on all of Eve's weaknesses. Charlie has
Mm.
weaknesses, but that's not what
Mm.
they were targeting.
Yeah,
They just
that's true.
used her attitude to their advantage
Mm-hmm.
because she was so whatever. I mean, I don't know how anybody could
Yeah.
be like that, but I think too, when you are in a relationship with somebody, this is getting very like psychosomatic. When you're in a relationship with somebody that worries so much, you have to be like that in a way because of what are you going to do? Just drive
Mm-hmm.
both of you into this like crippling anxiety? Somebody
Mm-hmm.
has to say, it's chill, just be calm
Yeah.
and stop
Yeah.
because you can't
Yeah.
always. So I don't know if that's something Charlie always had or if being with Eve made her more that way. And
Mm.
just having to hear Eve all the time, the monkey is telling me whatever, that kind of thing. I think I
Yeah.
too would be like, it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Because you can tell that Charlie's getting annoyed.
Yeah.
And I don't really blame Charlie because I think it would be kind of annoying. It would be hard to deal with. I'm speaking as the person who has the anxiety in the relationship. I annoy myself. So like I it's it's hard and you can't be a perfect partner
Mm.
all the time. And when
Yeah.
somebody is always upset about something, it gets a little grating.
Mm.
So I like
But
see a lot of things.
but to kind of, back us up, you and me up, okay?
Beep, beep.
Sometimes back it up. sometimes it's not even worrying. It's like I can see 5 steps ahead, and here's what it is, okay?
Yeah.
And why aren't you listening to me? And that ticks me off so much. Like, okay, where I live, as you know, is right by a highway. And we don't have a door that connects our backyard to our house. And so to take the dog out, we need to put the dog on the leash and then get to our fenced in backyard, close the door, let her off. Same thing
Yeah.
with Linus, our other dog. And Scott took our other dog out a couple times off leash because he was like, oh, it's right there, it's fine. And what happened? Dog ran out into the road and almost got hit
Right.
by a car twice. And I was like, are you kidding me? So, like, things
Yeah.
like that, it's like, I'm not worrying. It's like, put him on a leash, put her on a leash. It's right there. You're
Yeah.
avoiding all this stuff. So, with Eve, she probably feels like that sometimes too, of like, oh my God, like all these things, all these things. Whereas,
Right.
like, the other person's like, just relax. It's not going to happen. Sometimes it is going to happen if you don't
Yeah.
do the freaking things. But if Charlie was home, like you said, this wouldn't have happened because she would have been
Yeah.
like, no, or
Yeah.
not even open the door. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I just need to defend us a little bit, us worriers, because sometimes it's not even worry. It's like, hello, why can't you see? This is how it's going to
Right.
happen, you know?
Well, that is like that's what it feels like. We can see the worst case scenario. And even though
Mm
that might only happen 1 out of 100 times, you
hmm. Mm
just
hmm.
don't want to take the chance that this is the time.
Yeah.
Like,
I have said so many times growing up and even now, I'd rather be stupid and okay than, you know, cool and dead.
yeah. Well,
Like,
that's the thing,
just do
right?
it.
There really are certain things that it's okay if people think you're a little like dorky or weird if you are keeping yourself safe. That's
Yeah.
just my opinion. Like
Right?
I don't
Right?
mess around with shit.
No, no. So, I think that makes sense though that like the fact that Eve was there alone, they decided
Yeah,
to strategize and just pinpoint. Because I did think for a sec, like, why are they zoning in on Eve? Like, why not
right,
Charlie? Because we don't see Charlie's point of view at all, which I
right.
liked. Because I think if you get too much in a horror, it's like,
Yeah.
it's not very scary. If that's what happens, you know?
Well, that's the thing. If
So,
we were thinking, "Oh my God, what if Charlie like doesn't like her? Charlie's so mad at her." But then in her head, we're hearing her be like, "Aw, Eve." Well, and then it ruins that whole line of tension because you're
yeah.
getting answers to these things that they're trying to build up worry about.
Yeah. Or like Charlie being like, I lost my locket. You know, they would know, oh,
Yeah,
okay, she knows she lost her locket. Which that part, I was like, okay, Charlie's dead. You know,
yeah,
like she finds the locket hanging on like a nail that she already took out, or a
yeah,
screw she already took out, hanging over the
yeah,
fireplace. I don't know. But thank God she took
yeah,
that locket because it's grounding her in her reality, the
yeah.
real reality we think, right? This is the thing. This book is so trippy. It's like, what is real? What is not, you know?
Well, I mean, talking about that, then we have to talk about how they go to the motel. The motel
Yes.
that they drive past on their way to the house
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning of the book, or around the beginning of the book, and it's missing letters and it's really dilapidated and clearly not really in use anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And after they leave, and I think personally, if I were leaving that situation, I would have driven a little further than the motel, like 40 minutes down the road, but
Right.
whatever. Not me.
Right. Well, that's the thing because it's like clearly this whole, I don't know if it's a town or a village, this whole little tiny area is being affected by the house.
Yeah.
Shit is afoot, okay? Something is awry. And
Yeah.
I would not go 40 minutes down the road and be like, well, I guess we're gonna stick the night out here, whatever, like, no, I'm not. No. Why don't we drive an hour or two, get to like a Best Western, Holiday Inn, whatever, 3-star
Yeah.
place
Credible.
with
Yep.
power, with Wi-Fi, so you can try to look things up,
Yeah.
whatever. 'Cause she doesn't have her phone.
But also because the
Mm-hmm.
real Charlie's in the house and it's this entity with her, is it then that the boundaries of this are endless because she has it in the car with
Mm-hmm.
her. So
Yeah.
does it not even matter how far they drive now because she's carrying it around essentially?
And like, what? Who is this fake Charlie? And or not who, what is this fake Charlie? You know?
That's
Have you
what we
ever
all
seen
want to
the
know.
movie? Right. Have you seen the movie It Follows?
About the sex demon? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this is why this is. It's like you're like it's following. I'm like it's the STD. It's the
Yeah.
haunted STD. Like I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what Charlie is anymore.
I
And
don't either.
so, by the end of the book, Eve is like she feels like she's losing her mind. She like kind of plays along with the family for a bit, and like the kids are calling her Aunt
Emma.
Emma. Yeah, Aunt Emma. And because the sister, Thomas's sister, alleged sister, who is like the first person she hears about who kind of loses her mind with that family or with Thomas in the house. Her name, let me look here.
Mhm.
Alina.
Yeah.
Okay, so Thomas came to the house as a child. Okay.
A
This is like,
child. A
right? It's, I
child-shaped
gotta,
being.
yes. I have to like try to keep straight these several plot lines here and realities. He shows up at the house, and Allison's family lives in the house. They adopt him, kind of. Shit starts going weird. Allison starts to feel like things are moving, changing in the house. And soon they start calling her Alina.
Yeah.
And she's like put away in like a psych ward or something.
The
And
parents become
so,
very religious.
yes. Yes.
And they used to be
And
rockers. The dad was in a band and stuff, and the mom was like a groupie, and
why did I think Heather was also a rocker groupie person?
she was. You see pictures of her husband
Okay.
playing the drums.
Okay, so they all were kind of like rocker types, and they all became kind of straight laced or more straight laced.
I don't know about Heather, but with the parents, they start to become like really religious. And I think that the girl's name was Alina first, because I think he refers to her as Allison, like my sister Allison, I think. But anyway,
Oh,
not
I
super
don't know.
important. She starts to go crazy thinking that things are moving, the windows are moving different places, things are different in the
Mm-hmm.
home. Um,
She
and then
stabs
she,
Thomas
like a lot.
37
Yeah,
times
that's what I was gonna say. I was like, I think it's 37 for some reason.
with like a pen or something?
Yeah.
Something like that? I'm trying to look it up here. Yeah, she stabs him a bajillion times.
Hmm.
And he has like little marks all over that Eve notices when she first sees him. And which I thought was like drugs or something at first. I was like, oh,
Oh, okay,
this
yeah.
guy is doing opiates or something. I don't know.
I didn't
I don't know.
realize that she noticed them at the beginning. I thought that after she was told that, she goes back and she looks at him and she notices them. And I was thinking, did he just make those appear? I was like, ooh,
No, yeah, I think she sees them at the beginning,
shivers.
but she's like, what is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it could also just be like acne scars because they were like
Yeah, or like
small,
chicken
kind
pox.
of
Like if you had really bad chicken pox as a kid.
shingles. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so she gets sent away. Life goes on, and she hears about his sister and all this stuff. Like Eve hears about his sister and everything. And so I feel like the lady in the house with the hammer, that's got to be his sister, right?
That's what I think.
But is the lady with the hammer real? Like how Charlie and Shiloh, the dog, is assumedly stuck in the house?
I don't
Right?
know, man. There's
There's
like,
like so much.
I
There's
know.
so much. I feel like I'm losing my mind just going through the events again. Because, so, how I started this trail, this rabbit hole, was Eve is at the house with that crazy family. They are now referring to her as Aunt Emma, Thomas's sister.
Yeah.
She decides to bide her time because she sees a note from Allison or Alina saying, Thomas has a temper. You got to play along until he like starts to crack and then attack, basically is what she says.
Mm-hmm.
And so she does that. She kills Paige. She wounds Thomas severely, and the kids are just like there through it all. They're
Yeah.
just like, yikes, if they're even real or even
Hmm.
children. Um, and then she gets sent away into a mental institution.
Yeah.
And that's how the book ends. She's like, everyone's calling her Emma. Her girlfriend Charlie is her ex Charlotte. And she
Yeah.
doesn't remember the locket. Like, but
Yeah. And Thomas
Emma
visits
slash
her.
Eve. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was going to say Emma slash Eve has the locket. And
Yeah.
that's what's grounding her in her somewhat reality. But okay,
Yeah.
wait a sec. At the very end, don't we get a glimpse into Charlie for a sec?
Charlie calls her from, so she has Charlie's phone,
Mm-hmm.
and Charlie calls her from Eve's phone because Eve lost her phone in the house. She couldn't
Yeah.
find it. And she's like, "Where are you?" And she goes, "I'm still in the house," which is why she goes back because she's driving. You remember she like leaves Charlie number two when she's looking at her hand and or her arm, and there's no
Yes.
tattoo there where there's supposed to be one.
Yeah. The inverted
And
triangle.
yeah, and so she runs out in her sock feet. There's the creepy policeman who stops her and is like, "What are you
Yes.
doing? Are you on drugs and all this stuff?" And she's like, "I
Yeah.
wish."
Right?
Um,
This would make more sense.
right? I can't remember exactly if she gets the call while she's in the bathroom from real Charlie or if she gets the call after.
Okay.
But real Charlie makes contact and she goes back to the house.
Yes. Okay, but at the very, very end,
Mm-hmm.
it's this like document thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Transcript of post on highstrangenessforums.net. And the
Mm-hmm.
title of the post is My partner went missing, but everyone is telling me she never existed to begin with. And so I thought that was Charlie writing that.
Right.
Is it not?
It's been like two
Everything's
plus months since I've
redacted,
read this book.
right? That's the thing. Nikki read this way before me, and I was like, I really want to read it. And so then I did. But like,
Um, I don't know.
maybe
That's the
it's
thing,
not.
right?
Ugh, I thought it was Charlie. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is Eve. But okay, here's one little silly thing. Did you try? Nikki's like, I love your silly things. She really
Always.
doesn't.
Of course I do.
Well, you're stuck with me, so
All we are is silly things.
That's true. Silly things and stardust. That's it. So on one of the forum things or like redacted documents, they're like the spelling errors are left in. And there were no spelling errors. There were just certain letters that were capitalized. Did you or did you not try to keep track of them and decode it? Because I did, and it didn't make any sense.
Can't say I did. Can't say that I did. Although I wish I could because I feel like it would make you feel better.
Right? Like I had to stop myself because I was lying in bed sick, so I had no energy for this, but I
Were
kept
you
flipping
writing them
back and
down?
forth. No, because I was in bed. So if I had energy, I would have been like, okay, and like I would have gotten up, I would have gotten a pencil, done my stuff, because when we
Your
were reading Lord of
magnifying
the Rings,
glass?
yeah, it's over there on the shelf. When we were reading Lord of the Rings, I started decoding the elvish or elven message at the beginning. And then
Yep.
later on, they tell you what it means. And I was like, God, I was halfway through solving it. so, so this document, there were no spelling errors. Once they said that, I was like, oh, this is a clue. Spelling errors left in. That's got to be some kind of message. No spelling errors, just random letters capitalized. And it was the, and then random letters. And I was like, God damn it. So if I had been of clear mind, not all congested, in
Yeah.
bed, I would have gotten
Mhm.
a pen and started cracking the scope because I'm telling you, there's gotta be, I gotta contact Marcus and be like, Marcus, is it a code?
I feel like
Can
we
you
do
tell
need to talk
us?
to Marcus because this is wild. The amount of
Yes.
questions that we have had crop up from this, I feel like half of them, if not all of them, he would just say, I don't know, and let us suffer. We
Well,
could
this
promise
is,
not to record it. It's just for us.
yes. Yeah, I don't know if we ever said this, but when we spoke to Rebecca Yaros, once we got off air, she literally, as soon as we stopped recording, she was like, okay, do you have any questions that you want to ask me now that we're not recording? And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, Rebecca, let's get into it. We didn't have too
Yeah.
many because we were trying to be nice. We were like, we don't want to be spoiled, but we want a little bit of a spoil. But
Yeah.
like, we've never gotten to speak to a horror author yet.
No.
Fingers crossed. But I wonder, with a standalone book like this, would they reveal these secrets, or would it just be like, oh, I don't know, I guess you'll have to think about it or never sleep again? Like, I don't know. It's like, can you just tell me?
Never
It's
sleep
not a
again.
series.
Just wonder the rest of your life about all of these
What did those
unanswered
spelling
questions.
mistakes mean?
Should we waste our time writing all of the odd letters out so that we can crack the code?
Why did you mention? That's the thing. If we get to talk to Marcus ever, Marcus Kliewer, if you're out there listening, I'm looking at you. Why did you mention spelling mistakes, of which there were none, but there were random letters capitalized? Why were they left in? Was there a purpose other than just to drive me up the wall? Like, I need to know. Because to me, that's like, okay, we're getting into a code here, and they've left it in the online forums for the people in the know or the conspiracy theory people to crack, right?
Yeah. He really needs to put um a note at the beginning of the book and be like, millennials who read Chasing Vermeer, don't read too much into this.
This is the thing. I'm always trying to crack the code. I'm like, there's something in here, like
Oh my god.
whatever. I'll figure it out one day.
I hope you do.
Hopefully with lots of time left so I could be like, okay, I figured it out. Listen. It's been 84 years.
Do we have anything else?
I don't think so. I haven't cracked the code, so I can't tell you that answer yet.
Well, then, that's it for today. Thank you all so much for listening and watching this episode of the Bring Your Own Book podcast. We had such a blast with this. If you want to see more from us, you can follow us on Instagram at BYO Book Podcast or TikTok on Bring Your Own Book Podcast. And remember, don't let people into your home unless you want to, I guess. Until next time, see ya.
Bye.